What up, guys? Welcome back to All Gas Podcast. I'm Factor.
I'm Kevin.
And today our guest here is Charles. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
How's it going,
Thanks for
guys?
being on the show.
Yep.
How you doing?
So, not a lot of people, like we had discussed earlier, we were talking outside of this, not a lot of people know who you are, but they know your car. So, we usually try to start out an episode with kind of getting a backstory on you, who you are, just kind of give us a rundown on who you are and how you got started and that kind of stuff. Just your backstory.
Yeah. Basically, started about 15 years ago. Started building this car, making it a tube chassis. It was a regular street car. I raced around for about a year and a half. Got in a bunch of trouble with the law. Almost lost the license and everything, street racing. So
Been there.
it was like, I think it's time to take it off the street. And we ended up getting a fiberglass front end from L4 Imports that was local in Yuba City at the time. And they kind of sponsored me in that sense of motors because everybody was doing the swaps and I was a single cam. And I ended up loving the single cam engine, fell in love with it, and I could go out with it and beat a lot of the guys that had the swaps. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I just stuck with it. I fell in love with it because I like pissing everybody off with the single cam.
A little underdog kind of.
Yeah, story. I was always the underdog. Everybody pull up with their H22s or GSRs or whatever, and was like, "Dude, I'm gonna rail this guy," and then 6 cars out of the hole, and they're like, "How did you do that? How'd you get out there so fast?" Because I learned how to tune the suspension. I learned how to tune the car, make the car work before you turn it up.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody can make power, but if you can't get the power to the ground, you're not going nowhere. So, So I learned how to tune the cars to get them to work, and that would just always worked for me out of the hole. So I stayed with the single cam, started adding nitrous, pissing more people off, and it just kind of got to the point where I was like, everybody started catching me. So I was like, well, everybody's getting smart and starting to learn more, so I need to do more. So we got the fiberglass front end, and I gutted the car, put a wheelie bar on it, and did the fiberglass front end and just went straight track, put slicks on it, skinnies, and started racing it sack that away. And it
So was this your first Honda?
This is my very first Honda. I drove it on the street, and it's come full circle with me.
Yeah.
So I've never had another Honda that I've raced. Everything else has been just street cars that I've driven.
Okay.
But yeah, so we did that with the car, and I worked for Clay & Paquette engine machine shop at the time, and they built me a motor, and we went 1160s with the car, with a little nitrous on it.
And this has always been single? You've never gone?
Always been single.
Always been single.
Never been anything else but a single cam.
What made you go that route?
Just like I said, I always pissed everybody off with the single cam. I could outrun most people. I got beat. Everybody gets beat.
Oh, yeah.
It's racing.
There was some guys that had some money, and could outrun me.
Yeah.
So I got beat, but for the most part on the street, when I had that thing running, there wasn't too many people that could outrun me. So I was like, hey, let's bump up my game, because like I said, it was about time to lose the license and everything else, and I was like, I just can't get in that much trouble anymore.
Yeah.
So 4 tickets in 3 months is a good way to lose your license. So
And they probably weren't the greatest of tickets too. They're probably some bad.
no, and I was looking at it as I'm spending $500-$600 a ticket. I could put that in the car.
Right.
That's my ignition system.
That's at one point my mom was like, "You're spending so much money on tickets. You have more money in the court fees than you do in your damn car."
Exactly.
And that's when you got to start making changes when you
Yeah.
realize shit like that.
So I was like, me and my dad, we've always we street raced when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
He did more of it as a teenager and a young man in his day and age, around town, and he kind of got me into it when I was around 13. We went around playing with the guys that we knew, our friends. Mm-hmm. They had an old Vega that had a little small block in it that ran 12s, but that was fast back then on the street. You know, a 12-second street car was fast.
Even a 12-second track car was fast.
Yeah, it was fast
for early 2000s.
Literally, guys, this was a 9-inch rear end, a small block Chevy with a 3-speed, 350 whatever in it, training, and a little nitrous. with some Hoosier dirt bosses on the back. You know?
Yeah.
That's what this car was. It was a hoopty, but it ran. It worked. And it kicked butt around here. You know? It was pretty unbeatable for a long time. But like I said, everybody gets beat. You know, at some point, somebody's going to come out there with something.
Exactly. Someone,
and then, you know.
Someone that wants... It's just part of the racing scene in a sense. Like you were explaining earlier, like other cars inspire you, and it just keeps leveling up.
Yeah. And, I mean... This is before LS's. This is before any of that. You know, this is like the early 90s.
Everyone was a 383.
This is late 80s, early 90s, you know. This is back when the cops pulled you over out street racing. They're like, go home,
right.
Get your car out of here, you know.
Did you win or did you lose?
Yeah.
Because if you lost, you're getting a ticket. If you won, go home.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, so I grew up with roots on the street, and then me and my dad liked, you know, we did hot rods and stuff. So we built the red car, and he was out, started street racing that a little bit, and I was like, you know, Dad, I don't want to wreck this car. And I said, we put too much time in it. And he was like, yeah. He goes, let's build a car. And I was like, all right, cool. What do we got? And he goes into the garage and pulls out of the corner under dusty boxes and everything an aluminum rotted 440.
Oh, wow.
You know, Chrysler. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where'd you get this?
Right?
You know, gun drilled crank, you know, crank's like $3,000 crank, you know, and I'm like, where did you get this? Like, why haven't we been messing with this? And he's like, it's been in my stash. He goes, I've never had nothing to put it in.
Why was that not in the red car?
Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm just like, you know, why didn't we do this? So he was like, we need to find something small to put it in. So we started looking around. We could never find a car that we just like wanted. And one day, like a dirt drag car, you know, the little dirt cars with paddle tires and everything, went driving by and had a 30 Model A body on it. And we saw that with the big tires and everything, and I was like, dude, Dad, we got to do that. He goes, we got to find one. So we started looking for bodies, you know, the little 30s bodies, and we finally found one that was pretty intact, already had a chopped top, and that was it, man. That's where my whole racing career started. Was we bought a Chris Austin chassis works.
I know, right?
We bought a 440.
Everyone else on our show's all been about little CRXs and DFs and 440s.
Well, I mean, and this is the thing. Like, we didn't have a shop. We had a garage. This is stuff that my dad had from his racing career back in the day. You know, like 60s and 70s. And he just stashed it, you know. He just was like, hey, I ain't got no use for it, but I ain't going to throw it away. I'll put it in something someday. Yeah. Because he was a dirt biker, and he built sand rails and all kinds of stuff. So he was like, I'll put it in something at some point. But so he went, and we saved up our money, and we bought a Chris Austin chassis works chassis. And he was like,
one hell of a way to go.
We got to get a shop. We can't build that in the garage. And I was like, all right, well, where are we going to get a shop? And so happened that him and his ex-wife were still great friends. And they had this shop coming open. And we ended up getting this 4,000 square foot shop for $300 a month.
Fuck.
Yeah. And my dad was like, I can't turn that down. We're doing it. So we got this shop, and we've had it ever since.
You said it was 33 years you've been here?
33 years we've been in the shop. And, of course, the rent's way higher now.
It's like $350.
I wish. We still get a really good deal.
You've
per
been
se,
paying rent
because
for 33 years.
Our landlords have been really good to us, but
That's always good.
We still get a really good deal, but it's getting to the point where I don't know how long I'm going to stay now, because it's just getting up there to where it's out of my range.
California, everything's getting out.
Yeah,
of
no,
range.
That's the whole thing. It's just getting so much. So, but anyways, we got the shop and just kind of built that car, and it was called Murphy's Law, and it was just a nasty little drag car that we had that, fortunately, we never really got a good handle on. My dad was kind of a cheap ass and wouldn't spend the money to do things the right way, per se. Like, we did it to within our means, but there was things we needed to do with that motor that just needed to be done, you know, the right parts. And
where around here did dirt drags?
We didn't do dirt drag.
Oh,
we made the car.
body.
We saw that body because the dirt
Gotcha.
drags was down here in the river bottoms.
Down the bottoms.
Yeah, right where the racetrack is here.
Yeah.
There used to be a dirt drag right there.
Gotcha.
You know, they did the 300 feet or 330, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they used to do it down there, and we just saw that body and was like, oh, that would look so cool as a drag car. So we got it, and 17-inch wide slicks, 33 inches tall. Slammed on the ground. The thing was like chest height. It was just crazy looking. It just looked like a monster coming at you, you know. So
And here's the Honda version of that.
basically, yeah. Basically, it is. It's like once I learned like how to build the chassis, I was like, every car should have a chassis at that point. Why am I messing with a stock car?
Right.
Yeah.
Why mess with a stock car? It's heavy. It's not light. What's the best way to make something go fast? It's got to be light and powerful. Weight to power. That's where everything is at. If your weight to power's off, you're not going nowhere.
And your chassis has to be tuned to be able to put that power down with that weight.
Do you have an estimate weight on this car?
It, with me in it, wet and ready, is 1675.
Wow.
Yeah, it don't weigh nothing.
What? No.
Without me in it, it's like 1375.
No wonder that
around
shit's so
1350.
sketchy on the top end.
Yeah,
Wow.
it gets fun. So top end actually it runs great until you pull the chute.
Well-
then and when it wraps around the wheelie bar, it doesn't go well from that point.
That's
But
crazy.
we've got a few things we got to work out. The car's been a work in progress since I
Yeah.
started. You know, I built and designed every part of it. I don't know too many people that do that. You know, there's a few guys out there, Sean Carlson, those type of guys back in the day.
There's not many. And
that-
it's usually a team. It's not usually just one person.
Yeah, and for me, it's always been just me.
Check out his Instagram and go through his Instagram and
Right.
look at all the parts that he's fabricated. It's fucking a lot. It's
We'll put the link in the
link will be in the description,
Yep.
but check it out. He's got pictures of all the shit he's fabricated. I mean, I even like your logo that you put right there on the center console.
Yeah,
That shit's pretty
that
dope,
was
man.
newer.
Yeah, I
yeah.
like that.
the,
But
the car's it's crazy. It's got a lot of cool stuff that you did yourself, and that's. I know me when I build my own cars. I feel more proud than just going out and buying a part and just bolting the part
for
on.
sure,
You know what I mean?
sure.
Fabricating yourself, it's cool. Like that's like him. He was just doing the wing for his car. Now he's always like, dude, check out my wing. I'm building it. Spoiler or whatever. He's like, I'm doing it. I don't want to buy one, but I'm making it to where I like it. And I'm like, that's cool. You know, you can tell he's more proud of that than buying.
for sure.
one.
I grew up watching guys like you, like you were saying, Chip Fu, Sport Cardington, all those guys. I grew up watching them, reading magazines. My uncles were all in the cars, and it's like, I kind of like got to a point in the Honda scene where it's like, all we're doing is just buying parts and putting them on, and then they call them
Cookie cutter.
Yep.
They're cookie cutter cars, man.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
it. Look at every car out there. They all have the same front end. They all have the same fenders. They all have the same doors. They all have the same wings.
Yep.
They all look identically the
Turbo
same.
kit, intercooler.
And
You
that's
know,
the same.
and don't get me wrong, it works. The cars are freaking fast, man. They're the fastest they've ever been. But imagine if we would have stayed with the Pro Series, the front-wheel drive cars, the Pro front-wheel drive chassis cars,
Look at it this way.
and put the motors and tranny stuff that we have in those now.
Think if you put our all-motor nitro motors. You mean you're having
Yeah.
600 horsepower all-motor.
We would have been in the 8s a long time ago.
Oh,
long
easy.
time ago.
Oh yeah.
Long
Easy.
time ago.
Easy.
You know, but it's the thing of like when back to a little bit of the background on this car and me. I grew up around it and saw all the pro cars. And what do you want? You want to be a pro. You want to be the pro. I want to drive that pro car. I don't want to mess with all these little cars that are just stock. Like anybody can have that. I want a pro car.
Yep.
So that's why I started building this. And when you go through this car and you look at it, pull out all your old magazines of the OGs. That's where I started, was back with the OGs in the pro front wheel drive. And you look at the stuff that's on here, and I designed a lot of the stuff off of some of the
Around
technology
what
they had, you know. I changed it up to fit my needs, but a lot of it is the same. Like, you know, I've got a 4-link A-arm front end.
Yeah.
Nobody has that.
Nope.
The rear shocks, the rear trailing arm setup is a monoshock setup off of like a motorcycle. Christian Rado did that on his car.
I was looking at that and I was like, that's pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean it's all stuff I seen in magazines that I was like, I'm gonna build that.
Now,
That'll work on my car.
Did anybody kind of give you an idea of what to do with this car, or is this all just out of your head?
It is all out of my head. Everything is out of my head. Like I grew up around racing. I knew the basics. Plus I was going to school. I ended up going to Wyotech when they very, very, very first opened. I mean, they didn't have nothing. They had a building and it was empty, and they were teaching us there. That's how bad we got robbed. We got robbed from that.
$40,000 to be in a garage.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had to bring my engine parts in to show kids what we were talking about.
Wow.
And the stuff that I was learning, it was so basic, like I was way advanced already just because I grew up around it, since 9. Here I am, like late 20s doing it, I was like 26, 27 years old when I went. And most of these guys are 18, 19 years old, they're fresh. And I'd already been through the Marine Corps, I've been through the Marine Corps, gotten out, all that, so I already had a good head on my shoulders where I wanted to go. And so I was there to learn. And when I got there, I was really disappointed with what was going on. And then towards the end, because I was there for a year and a half doing the nighttime class after work. And by the end, they had finally gotten a lot of stuff there. But they were still building the school. They were building another building, and they were, finally we had lifts and stuff like that. But I did build part of that car there. So they let us bring our projects in, and I brought it in, and I built parts of the car there.
That's one thing I just noticed. You don't have a lift in here.
No, I don't really need them.
No.
For the stuff I do with the chassis.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really need them. I've got 2 A-frame saw, it's like sawhorses, and I jack the car up 2 feet in the air and I get under it and do it because I'd rather sit on my butt and weld like this than stand up all day. And So, and the big thing with the lift for me in here is I don't have the room. I do, but once you put a lift in here, everything's got to go around the lift now.
Yep.
So sure, if I did have a lift, I'd put it over there. It'd be used for storage more than anything. It's like I'm not a repair shop.
No.
I don't do a lot of repair stuff. So I don't even like working on my own cars when it's repaired. I hate streetcar stuff. I hate it. So over
you're
it.
a real fabricator.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it is too. I've just gotten to the point where it's like if it ain't a race car, I don't want to work on it. It's greasy and grimy and nasty and it smells like crap and I just hate it. So I'd rather stay clean. In a sense. I'd rather have metal dust and grinding dust all over me and smell like burnt hair from the welder than be all nasty and slimy.
That's the funny part. Now that I'm at work doing a lot of fiberglass, I'm the same way. I'm like, I miss metal. I miss messing with metal. I'm like, this fiberglass is bullshit.
Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of took magazines and I looked at Lacoste's car, I looked at Rahdo's car, I looked at Sean Carlson. Sean Carlson was a big influence on my builds. I loved his builds. The Focus, when he built that the first time, I don't know if most people don't know it other than the McGuire's Focus, but before he got that sponsorship, he was sponsored by Ford and what was it, Islinger or I forget the Ford company. They were doing the motors. They do the high end like what is it, the rally course engines for Ford. Been doing them for years. But they did the X-Track training in it, and that car was a carbon fiber body. It's when carbon fiber was just coming into the scene, and he painted flames over top of it, so you still seen the carbon, but yet there was frame. That car was unreal to me when I saw that car. I was just like, this is the dream right here, is to have this kind of car,
right?
Because it was just beautiful, And then he ended up getting the sponsorship from McGuire's and painted the whole body, and I was just like, why leave the black carbon? It looks so good with the carbon. But yeah, that's just how this car came about, and I built it somewhat to that. And it rules have changed, things have changed over the years, and it just kind of, for me, it sucks that the pro class kind of went away. The pro front wheel drive, pro all motor classes went away.
So did they let you run AMP with this?
I ran the hot rod class, basically, is what it was.
Okay, because I know they do have an AMP in SAC sometimes.
Yeah, they do. When they get enough guys down there, they still do it. But half the time they'll throw me in there too, because we're chassis cars, and I don't run that fast.
Yeah.
So, the car's not that fast yet. So we're getting there, though. We're getting there. It's gonna turn some heads, I think, when I finally get this system set up.
Explain to them a little bit of your setup, just quick.
Right.
Basically, it's just a single over cam D16 Y8 motor. I went with the Y8 because nobody else does. Everybody does the Z6. I had a Y8 laying around. I went with it. I always had good luck with it. Always made good power with it. So just went that route. Then finally decided to go the D to B, and it.
So you ran straight D for a while?
I ran straight D forever, and I went through 7 trannies in one season. And I finally, at that point, I was like, it's time to make the change.
That's a good reason to go D to B.
So yeah, so twin disc clutch, got the MazWorks adapter plate, and just kind of went from there. You know, built everything like it needs to be built. You know, rod pistons, 4-piston head. Had them fully go through everything.
What cam are you running in it?
Not the BIS. I was running a BISI cam, and I ended up having a problem with it. It was cracked on my part. It wasn't anything wrong with him. A lot of people had problems with his cams, and I never had any issues. But we ended up firing the motor on the old setup with that cam without oil in it. And it locked up the motor, and when it did, it turned the cam gear, and it shifted the key in the cam. Whoa. And it cracked the keyway.
Oh shit.
Well, I didn't know that. We put oil in it. I turned the motor around backwards and fired it up, and it ran. So we're like, it's good. But I always knew something sounded funny in that engine.
Half a tooth.
Yeah, it was 15 degrees retarded.
Oh damn.
Yeah, so once I didn't know it when we first fired up, I just kind of was like, it sounds a little funny. I didn't have electronics; everything was just MSD, and I run the manual fuel injection. So I never knew what was wrong. I just always knew it didn't make much power. You know, I turned the boost up to 30, 35 pounds, and we just never did make a lot of power. And I'm turning the timing up, but I can only go so far before I'm like, this is crazy. You can't run this much time, from what I've been taught, And it was like, I'm not going up higher. This motor's just not making power. Well, come to find out, when I sent everything down for this motor to get put back together, Ken took the cam gear off the cam and was like, oh, dude, check it out. And so he put a webcam in it. He had one down there. And because at that point, I was so frustrated with everything that was going on with the car, because it was time, man. Took me 9 months to get a clutch. Took me 3.5 months to get my gear set. I was just like done. I was done waiting. I was like, I done. And Ken was taking some time getting it together, which things happen. Everybody has their issues. But at that point, he's in the middle of the build, and he's like, yeah, dude, I got bad news. You've got a broken cam. I'm like, there's another $500. Like, I was like, dude, just pack everything up and send it to me. And he's like, no. And he called me back. His brother called me back and was like, hey, man, I have a cam here. I'm going to just give it to you. And I was like, dude, that's solid. So, they hooked me up. And
let's give them a shout.
Definitely.
Racing Engines, Buzz,
they're good people.
Damn good people.
I talked
to
John.
Right.
They're good fans.
I talk to John quite often.
Yeah, they did me. They did me right, man. I can't thank them more than enough.
That's where my motor's going.
I put their name on the side of the car. I appreciate what they did for me.
Right.
So, but yeah. Other than that, we run just a eBay turbo. It's a 66 millimeter turbo. And it's on mechanical fuel injection. Ron's flying toilet.
I was gonna say, you want to explain that a little bit better?
Yeah,
since nobody knows. I mean, in the Honda world,
nobody messes with manual injection.
No,
it's different. And the reason why I did it was, back in the day, I couldn't afford to buy Motec, because that's what there was.
Yeah.
Hondata really wasn't Hondata then. There wasn't anything really. And if what they had was just chipped ECUs that you popped a chip in.
Yep. Well, Mugen chip, little spoon chip.
Yeah, so if you wanted to run with the big dogs, you had to buy the Motec stuff. Well, I was like, I'm not spending $10,000. I got $10,000 to put on an electronic system. Plus, I knew nothing about it at that point. I hadn't gone to Wildtech. I hadn't done anything like that. Yeah. So I hadn't learned anything about electronic injection. I knew what I knew, which on my dad's old car, the 30 that we built, we ran manual injection, on a naturally aspirated engine. Okay. And we ran alcohol. Well, that's what I grew up with. I was like, why wouldn't I try to run that on a Honda? That'd be different. It's going to get people to look at the car. So I was like, yeah, I want the car to get attention. I want to try to get sponsors. So let's do that, And it just kind of evolved from there. I found this Ron's fuel injection and was like, talked to them. They sorted me out, showed me like how it works with the boost and references boost, and you can add a secondary injection, you know. So I was just like, man, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be different. So I run mechanical injection, and it tunes up. I can tune it pretty damn well, you know, with the setup that I've got now and the knowledge that I have now with it. It's pretty efficient. It's not as efficient as electronic. I'll never say that. I know better. You know, the stuff we have now, the electronics we have now, it's just amazing. But with the Fuel Tech, I can set this manual injection up with high-speed lean-outs and everything else and tune it with the Fuel Tech. And lean it out top in if I need to with a mechanical or with electronic valve.
Now,
so
what fuel are you running?
Methanol.
Methanol.
Straight methanol.
Just straight M5?
I run M1.
Oh, M1.
M1. I do have M5. I'm going to run M5 at some point, but I want to get this motor dialed in and running well, get some good times down the track, and then I want to see what the M5 is going to do. So, because
you ever going to try to play with the nitro at all, or just?
Well, that's
just
basically all M5 is it's methanol with a little nitro in it. You know, it's not the same thing. But
when I say
mess
with nitro, I'm talking, you know, the 85%, 50%.
You know, if I had
the higher numbers,
if I was running a different engine, then I probably would. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But these little D series blocks, just once you break that 650 range, it's a grenade waiting to happen.
Yeah.
The blocks just don't have the strength to hold together with the pressure we're putting them under, especially if you're running 30 plus pounds of boost.
Yeah.
You know?
What made you go methanol instead of like an E85?
Boost. It's so forgiving. The timing and everything on it. If I get the timing off a little bit, it don't burn the motor down. You run, you know, and that's the reason why everybody's running E85 now, because you can buy it at the pump. And it's pretty readily available now, because when it first came out, no one wanted to run it because it was so hard to get and it's expensive. No. Methanol's cheap, dude.
Yeah, the only thing that was
you
nice
want to talk about
E85,
cheap race gas? Methanol.
Yeah.
You get a 20% gain, you know, right off the bat just by going to methanol over everything else. But you won't pay for it. You're going to pay for it in getting your car set up for it. You got to have a special pump. You got to have special filters. Your injectors have got to be set up for it.
Got to be a stainless injector.
Yeah, if you don't have...
Flush everything as
yeah,
you go.
and it's maintenance.
Yep.
The maintenance. You are going to maintain the crap out of your engine, because every time this thing runs at a race, the oil gets changed.
Yep.
You know, I can say that, you know, on an average race, you run maybe 8 runs if you're lucky. That'll, you know, the oil will hold up for that. And then I got to change it, because after that, it's just full of fuel and water.
Yep.
So... that's the biggest problem with methanol. But M5 is even worse.
Oh, yeah.
When you get done with M5, you're washing the whole system
Day
down.
of your day.
Yeah, the day you finish, you better be doing it at the track, you know, because you wait and get home and just shove the car in the shop, you're going to be hating yourself the next day, because you're going to have lines torn up and everything else. M5 is very, very bad for sitting. So, but yeah, other than that, it's just... I wanted to be different with the mechanical fuel injection. I wanted to have something that I knew. I knew how to tune it.
How to tune it. Yeah.
It caught my eye over the years.
Yeah,
I mean,
it has. I mean, I have people walk up and they look at it and they're like, "What is that? Like, what is that?" And
no, the first thing it is that little spiral thing you have going into your throttle body.
Yeah,
whatever you want to call that thing.
Pisses everybody off. I love that thing. It pisses everybody off. But the bad thing is they don't understand it, so they want to knock it. Yeah. I've had tons of comments on it. What is that thing? What is that thing? Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you make it big, small? Just because the outside looks different doesn't mean it doesn't flow.
Right.
You know, I ain't going to build something that ain't going to flow right.
No, there ain't no point building something that ain't going to function.
And with what I have, it does look a little weird. I'll give it to you. You know, it does, but it works. It makes power. I ain't lacking power, that's for sure.
I was once told by someone, it don't matter what it looks like under the hood when you're dragging their ass. They can't see it.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can't see it from behind you.
Exactly. Plus, I like it because it looks different.
Yep.
It catches people's eye. I mean, everybody walks by my pit, if they see that engine, they stop.
Oh, yeah.
And they come back and look, and they're like, what is that? Because it's not your typical looking Honda.
It's not your cookie cutter.
Nope.
That's
it's
why.
not.
And most people who are using the cookie cutter is probably the ones that are talking shit about it.
Yeah.
That's why I
and
can't
that's
wait.
the thing. A lot of it is these kids that they have a street car. And they look at that and they say, well, why ain't it just a 90 elbow? Well, if you look at it and know what it is, you'll understand. It's actually off of a Ford diesel. It's a 7.3 Ford, and it's the part that mounts to the manifold, and the turbo plugs right into it. So what does it do? It comes right off the turbo, so the compressor of the turbo comes off, and it spirals it into a bigger plenum.
Yep.
What am I doing here? It's the same exact thing. Tell me it ain't gonna work.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
It may not be this big gaudy box that's got a 90 on it.
You look at it this way.
But
Ford engineers engineered it for a reason. They spent millions of dollars engineering parts like that for a reason.
Yep. And, you know, I mean, you're going to tell me it ain't going to work. It's the same size as the pipe.
Yeah.
And it's a flow. If anything, it's creating a vortex as it pulls in. So, you know, maybe it's helping better. I don't know. You know, I don't have no way to really check it without spending tons and tons of money on, you know, research on it.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Some point, maybe I'll throw, you know, something off of a carburetor setup, because that's basically what it is with this injection setup. It's a massive 3¼ inch throttle body, and that's basically the same as a top hat on a carburetor. So like your top hats that they use for the turbo setups for a blow-through carburetor, it's the same thing. I could use one of those and bolt it on.
But that would be a 90, not...
Yeah, but that's a direct 90.
Yeah,
you know, it's got a little plenum on top of the carburetor. Well, you kind of need that on a carburetor. On a massive throttle body that's just a big hole, you don't really need that plenum. This is going to force it in, you know, under boost. So, you know, everybody's got their opinions on it. And you know, it's fine. You got an opinion about it? I'm glad to listen, because, you know, you might spark an idea in my head and me go, oh, you could be right. You know, or I can, you know, be like, no, I've tested it. I know.
Yeah.
So, you know. That's the one thing I can honestly say. I've tested most of the stuff I've done. You know, most of the parts I build for somebody else, I've already done it.
You're doing a lot of R&D on other people's cars for a sense, and then bringing it to your own.
Actually, the opposite. I do a lot of the R&D on my
your
car and bring it to other people. So,
well, that's the thing too. Like, you see a lot of people getting frustrated at the track when they're not making good runs, but you, even if you don't make a good time, you're still R&Ding your car and learning from every run.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, this car wouldn't make a straight pass for nothing. It had bad bump steer. And all my drawings and everything were perfect. I was like, why am I getting bump steers? Doesn't make sense.
So what did it end up being?
Me being a dumbass. When I built it, something in my head when I was building it decided to change the steering arm that comes off of the hub to make it something else fit better or line up better. I don't know. When I look back at it, when I finally sat down with the car and was like, I got to figure this out. I sat down with it and I started measuring everything on the hubs. I'm like, this isn't the way I drew it. Why is it built like this? And I was like, you built it, dummy. You know, what did you do?
What did you do this for?
Yeah, so I started thinking about it and I was like, man, I had to have changed this because something was running into something, you know. I didn't know exactly why I did it at that point. So I had to like really sit down and figure it out. And when I did, I was like, man, you're a dummy. I was an inch off. An inch is all it takes.
Oh, wow.
You're an inch off on your pivot point. Well, when the cart goes like this, the wheels do this. So when you go down the track and you have another problem I found with the car was it's independent rear suspension. Well, there's nothing tying those independent suspensions together. So I didn't have an anti-roll bar on it or a sway bar per se. And another mistake I made was I made a single wheelie bar. I like the idea of a single wheelie bar with this because it was light, and why do you need two wheelie bars? You know, you're just planting the car and going.
Yeah.
But if
Well, with this, with independent suspension, the car would plant, set to one side,
twist either way.
and so now that's driving the car one direction.
Yeah.
Well, I'm steering it. Well, then we hit a bump, and the wheels do this. So now you're steering it the other way. So the car did this all the way down the track. So I'm fighting two things at the same time, and I never knew it. Plus, I had my shocks in the back were the spring rate was a little low still. You know, trial and error, man. I'm trying to figure this out. You don't know until you go to the track.
Yeah, you don't know.
You know, it works here sitting in the shop, bouncing it and stuff. Okay, things look good. Let's go to the track. You know, driving it down the street, you're not getting traction. So it's not doing the crazy stuff, you know, at the track. So I could never get a read. Down the street, it ran fine. Get to the track, it's all over the place.
I saw you were testing somewhere. Is that
It's
an Area 51?
secret location somewhere in Mexico.
No. So I got something on your car though. What made you go independent rear instead of a solid rear?
I saw Christian Rado's car.
Yeah.
And it inspired me, so I was like, I want to do that. If he can do it, I can do it. I wanted to build a pro front wheel drive car, and I've always liked Christian Rado in the sense of he was very innovative with everything he did. I mean, he's one of the guys that had a V drive in his car, when he first started. They ran the engine straight. He was one of the first guys to start doing that. But he hooked it to like a Linko with a V drive and then back up to a 9-inch rear. Yeah, it was crazy. And I saw stuff like that, and I was just like, dude, your car is ridiculous. Like, the innovation here is crazy. Because he was trying to mix the pro mod style car of then with a front wheel drive. And the only way you're going to do that is start trying stuff out. You got to try things, And so, a guy named Bob Norwood was helping him design this stuff. And Bob's a really good engineer. He's done a lot of stuff for the drag racing community. So they called the car NORAD. And it's just, you look at some of the old magazines and stuff with Christian Dorado's Celica in it and the thing's an animal, It still is to this day, He just doesn't run it anymore because there's no reason. So I got a lot of inspiration from that. So I did it. Well, then I found out probably what they found out later on down the road, So, trial and error. So I put a anti-roll bar on it. The back of the car stabilized. Put heavier springs on it so it wasn't slamming down so hard anymore. And I fixed the hubs. Car runs straight as an arrow now. I finally got enough runs on it, and I had a couple friends that really know cars and chassis setups and watched the car run, and they're like, dude, the wheels are doing this and the car's doing that. And well, as soon as they told me that, it was like, okay, well, I kind of know where to go. But when you're driving the car, you don't know what it's doing on the outside. You can't see things. And I had friends videotaping.
Turn like this or
I mean, I have friends videotaping, but all I know is what's going on the seat of my pants, And when the car is going from one side of the lane to the other side, you're not really trying to think, well, was that shock compressed? Was that
the left trailing?
Don't touch the fucking wall. You're going, please don't hit the wall, please don't hit the wall, please don't hit the wall. So that's just how it went, and I finally got it figured out. Now the car runs great. It runs really straight. I'm really happy with it. So it was about time to start just turning it up and making power. So we ended up building the motor and got the best setup I've ever had in the car now. So most expensive too. So we've dropped a pretty dime on it. So, but it should run pretty good now.
You gonna continue with the same tuner, or are you gonna go elsewhere and maybe find someone that knows this stuff a little better? Or
I tune it. I'm the tuner.
Oh, really?
I took it to Chad barbershop, and we threw it on the dyno, and he's like, dude, I don't know, fuel tech. He goes, I know a little bit. And I was like, neither do I, bro. Let's learn.
Let's go.
Let's learn. So, we did what we could, and we reached out to people that know, more than us, obviously, that run this stuff all the time. And they gave us a really good base to work off of, and we made like 460 on the dyno running out of jets. I didn't have the right jet sizes. So I was like, we're just barely touching the capabilities of this car. We ran 20 pounds of boost and we're making 460. I mean, we're going to run 30 pounds all day long on this car.
So now you got the right jets, the right turbo.
Now I've got everything I need. It's just about getting my transmission back together. Because 9,000 RPM, it don't like to shift off of synchros. So we're face plating everything. So everything's at liberty, and they found a crack in my ring gear, so I had to send the ring gear back to the manufacturer, which is in Thailand. So, and he told me, which I don't understand why he couldn't just remake the ring gear and send me one. He wanted me to send him the one that was cracked so he could copy it. And I'm like, why can't you just you made this one? It's a 4:0 ratio, It's just the main ring gear.
So he's just trying to verify that it's broken?
He's like, he had a lot of concerns. When I told him it cracked, he was like, oh, send it to me. And I was like, it's in Michigan, dude. Like, I don't have it here. They called me and told me it was cracked. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
But they found a small crack on the edge of one of the gears. So we found a problem, and so now it's back there getting the ring gear remade. It just got there this weekend. And as far as I know, Liberty's faceplating everything and doing all the heat treating, cryo treating, metal stabilization, and the slippery coatings.
So this won't be done this year then. It'll be back 2021.
It'll be 2021 most likely. If you see any more out of this car, it'll be at the secret test site. So that'll be the only place I probably run it the rest of this year, if we get it back together in time. But I think it'll be rain season by then.
So is this your secret test site, or is this someone you know that
this is
can be shared type thing?
We could probably work out a little share thing.
Hey.
If I had a close friend that wanted to come and test their car with me, we could probably do something like that. If somebody needed it, then they could get a hold of me and I could do it. But it is kind of I don't want to take advantage of the situation, because they gave me an open opportunity of, hey, you did us good. Anytime you need it, you got it. And I was like,
that's pretty cool.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's not too often you get that plot of land that they can't touch you and do anything to you. So yeah, if I wanted to really set up for street racing, that's a perfect place to do it.
That's what we were kind of.
We always talk about shootouts and holding our own for the podcast and stuff. And I had seen that and I was like, I wonder whose that is. If it's his or if it's kind of a...
They wouldn't want to shoot out of any type. Yeah. That's for sure. But, to go out and play and test for the day or something like that, I can always do that. So
that's cool.
But, yeah, I mean, the next time I go, I'd like to have, somebody else with a car to go out and, test with me. It'd be fun. Yeah. At least make a day of it, Yeah. So, but, yeah, it's definitely... a special place.
Now, you said you've been doing this building this car for 15 years. What's keeping you motivated now? I don't talk about it off camera.
Basically, my dad. I was done. I got married, bought a house, was trying to get things set up for my kid for the future and all that. And I was pretty much done. The motor was worn out, and I was done spending money on trannies, blowing trannies up left and right. So I was just done, and I had the car. I tried selling it. No one really wanted to hit on it because it just, no one wants a pro front-wheel drive car right now. They're just not there.
Well, it's like Danny's RSX. He tried to sell it for a while, and nobody wanted it. And I'm
they
like,
just don't want to spend the money. I got offered $3,000.
Oh wow!
I was like, get out of here, man. Like,
you want my trailing arms?
Yeah, it's like, get out of here. I mean, at one point I was ready to take $10,000 for the car. Running. I was like, I'll build the motor again. I'll put the motor back together if you give me $10,000. Yeah. Which then it was just going to be a ring and bearing and send it on its way because it would run. But, my dad, he got into really bad health, and we've always done everything together. So he basically was like, man, I want to go racing again. And he come into some money and was like, let's do it. And I was like, Dad, I don't have the money to do this. There's no way. He's like, I do. And I was like, yeah, but, because you've always done it yourself. Me and him, we've done everything together with the racing. But when it come to this car, I did everything myself. I paid for it myself. I worked my butt off. I did everything. The only thing that he ever helped me out with was with the shop, because we had the shop together. He helps pay for the shop. Other than that, it's always been me. All these tools, everything, I bought them all myself. A lot of people think, hey, your dad's bought all this stuff for you. No, that's not the case. My dad would never spend the money on these tools. He was like, that's like you said, let's go down to the flea market and buy somebody's used tools that we can use. I mean, that's what he did. That's how we got our DAs and everything else.
You wanted 50 cents for that wrench at that yard sale?
Yeah, seriously. It was that way for a long, long time with him, because that's just the way he was.
I think that's an old mentality, because my dad was the same way. He's
frugal,
anything.
Man. He was frugal. It was like, why am I going to go spend $80 on a DA when I can get one over here at the flea market? And I'm like, because that's going to break. Yeah. That thing's a piece of crap,
That's why they're selling it.
Yeah. It's like, dude, that thing's already got 20 years on it. You're going to buy it? But, that's how we started here, though. We bought everything cheap and used and worked our way up. Well, I finally got myself into a position where I was making a decent job. And, like I said, earlier, I got my taxes back every year. It was like, put that money into the shop and the car. So I bought more tools and stuff, and then I met some friends that moved into the shop, and we went together on the CNC plasma and built that. And it's just things like that have just come along in my life that I've gotten blessed with, and just it's worked out. So like I said, I'm not a major manufacturing plant. I do custom one-off pieces. That's what I do. I don't want to sit around and weld the same manifold every day.
Yeah, you don't want.
I don't want to build 10 of those and then hope they sell. I don't do that stuff. I'd rather just make the one-off stuff, build your car, or pieces for your car, and that's it. This is a hobby for me. It's not a everyday. This is my job. Yeah, it's not my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So what's kept me going is Pop came in and threw a bunch of money at me and said, I want the best we can do. So we sat down with the cars and engines that we had and laid out a plan, and this was the smartest one to do. It was the easiest one to do, and it was going to be the cheapest in the long run. So that's what I did. So we just put this one back together, and we went all out with it, and I bought the best of everything I could buy at the time. And it's like anything. You buy something, you're like, man, this is the best thing I can get. And then 2 weeks later, they come out with a new product, and you're like, God damn it. Great. Right. So, or they have them, but you can't get them because they're out of stock, and they don't know when they're going to be, back. They're back ordered for 6 months, and you're like, I want to go racing now. Right. So, stuff like that. But
so is your dad still continuing with you at the track?
Yes. He I can't really take him to the track anymore just because of his health. He just can't physically make it no more. It just beats him up too much. But other than that, we try to film everything, do everything. I take him to my testing if I can.
And you take the family with you to the track? They're all pretty
I
active.
take my daughter, yeah. Since then, I've been divorced, and I had a daughter from a previous relationship, and my daughter's 15 years old, so it's like she's into it. She likes doing it with me. That's cool. So she's more of the agricultural girl. She wants to raise sheep and stuff, so I don't see her continuing doing
FFA
this.
life.
But yeah, she's an FFA girl, and she isn't as excited about it as I am, but she does like going. She likes doing the filming. She likes doing all the stuff and being part of it.
That's so. I mean, a lot of it plays a part. People don't realize, running a team, like even just having someone to record your stuff like that.
Oh, it's huge
because you can use that for R&D.
Exactly,
so,
it's huge. Like I try to have somebody filming the car at the end of the track and somebody at the beginning. When it launches. And then, I've got a couple buddies that I sponsor with my work for them that help me out at the track.
Yeah, I see the same guy there with you almost
Marcus,
every event. Yeah. He lines you up.
He's got a road race Integra that's just beautiful. It's probably one of the cleanest cars around. And he was at Race Wars. He was showing. So.
Oh, okay.
And you see my logo on his car. It's a cream colored
to the show. Huh?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I'm over the show life. I've done that.
They kind of irked us last CMI.
Yeah, this last Race Wars.
They made us move pits and.
The Race Wars kind of disappointed me with the whole pit situation, putting all the pro cars out in the grass. That kind of pissed me off, over the bikes. Yep. They had a bunch of bikes there, and I'm like, what the hell is all this about?
Money.
And they got to go the day before.
Money.
It's money. It's always been about money.
Yep.
So, and, it is what it is. They had,
unfortunately, but
in Bodie's, or not Bodie's, but Monty's little setup with the rear-wheel drive cars, they had all that marked out for those guys, but they didn't even use all that pit area. Mm-hmm. So it was like, it just sucked. So I don't like being out in the grass with the car. It sucks. No. It gets things jacked up on it.
That was one of our talks we had with the owner of Sac Raceway. We had talked about, Tony. We had talked about that. And he was like, honestly, we're trying to work on things for next year. He was like, we want to try to change things up, see if it helps, see if things get better. So
yeah,
we talked a lot with him, and then he's supposed to sit down with us too and have an episode. And he wants to.
I'd like to know more about the future of the track because every year it's they're shutting down. They're shutting down. They're shutting down. It's like
there's your turn.
Yeah, it's
you wanted to talk about that.
What?
Oh, the car, the track.
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to say what I want to say.
Oh yeah.
Because Tony informed us that it's going to be open next year. Well, he informed everybody that 2021 will still be alive.
Yeah.
We got information that it's going to be extended more.
Past that. That's great.
We're not
So-
gonna
That's
say
good
how long
news.
I just don't want to say how long, because I don't know if I'm supposed
Yeah.
to release that.
Yeah.
But
But
on the good news, guys, it is going to be open 2021 and a couple years past that. So
That's
it's all
good.
going to depend on how we keep pushing the scene. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
hoping with
That's the
this
biggest
show
thing
that
is
we can-
getting the kids in there, man, and getting them active.
Well, that-
they
that-
gotta get the kids.
that
in
was
there.
his push. He was like, I can shut this down now, sell the property, make a bunch of money, or I can put myself back into this track and make more money. He was like,
Yeah.
I make a killing on it because when people show up.
Yeah,
But that it takes people showing up. So if people not showing up,
and I think it's just the type of events they hold too. He needs to work on the events and how they're run.
yes.
be more involved in that.
Yeah, I mean,
Which it seems
there
like
should
he
be
is.
a standard way of setting things up there.
Well,
because
The
the way they bring people in, the way they do the pit situations, it's sometimes it's a clusterfuck.
well, the problem with that is it's not him.
No, I know it's the
Street
promoters.
to track
Yeah.
or race wars or
Yep. and honestly, as them being promoters, it's not easy, man. You can't.
No.
One guy can't try to do everything.
No.
You got to set your guys up and say, hey,
You gotta have
you
a
guys
team.
take care of this. You take that. The one thing I did like was they did have people directing traffic at race wars. That worked out really good.
Yeah.
It's just the way they set it all up.
Well, the biggest problem
didn't
with
work
it
out.
is you don't have promoters that are racers. Most of these promoters are all show people or just business people that see the money in the business.
Yep.
So when they don't know the race aspect of it, they're not going to know how to
It's
set
called
it
race
up.
wars, not car show race wars.
Give
It's
me
called
some.
race wars.
Give me
man.
some because man,
It's about racing.
It drives me nuts, and a lot of people might give me shit for this, but you know what? You're going to a fucking racetrack, bro.
He tells me this every year.
That's
Every
my,
year.
dude. I have not put
Every
this
year.
on air, but man, it drives me nuts, bro. And that's why I
I'm not
said that's
even
why I was being
kidding.
nice about CMI. You see it, I'm getting a little
Yeah.
energized now, but
Yeah.
man, it
No, man, like
it drives me
but
nuts.
see,
bro.
CMI. Every time I've gone to a CMI, it's about racing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well,
sure they'll have
I'm
a car
talking-
show
I'm
or
talking
something,
about
but
that part of the car show part, because long story short, we were pit right there by the end of the stands. Mm-hmm. We never really pit there, but it was open, and I was like, it's probably not gonna be that many people. I was like, let's just go pit over there. We set
So
up
there was
pit.
probably about 20 people there.
There was a good
You know.
there was pits already set up. We had canopy set up. We had table set up. All tools and everything's ready to go for the day.
Put
We're
slicks
chilling.
on the car, everything's getting ready.
Snap Motorsports, shout out them. They're getting set up across from us. Big canopies, big trailer and everything. Come up, hey, y'all gotta move. We're like, for what? They're like, oh, because this is part of the car show. Da, da, da. I'm like, looking around thinking, but there's not that many cars. What the hell?
And then come to find out, it was supposed to be a car show of 200 cars and only 40 showed up. And they still made us all move.
Yeah, and they moved us for 8 VWs.
yeah.
And the thing is, where they ended was where the pits were starting.
Yeah.
So they could have squeezed them in right there and then started all our pits, and we could have all just stayed there.
But give it to him. It was his first event.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
you know,
it was his first
and that's the
event,
thing.
but just
Everybody's
learning
got to learn.
process.
We
Learning
got to
process.
these promoters just got to learn what the racers need, what the car show guys need, and the spectators will come. They're going to come.
That's
But
why-
you got to make your participants happy.
Yep.
And with the racers, we need to be able to get to and fro the track easy. We need to be able to get through the lines. We need to be able to get, we
able to
can't
hear.
have car show stuff blocking race car stuff, So
Well, that's
and
one of the
like
nice
up by the
things-
front of the track there at Sacramento, that should all be open to the racers.
Oh, yeah.
And I know at Race Wars they had the bikes and the other cars and stuff. That's fine, but if we're doing an import car meet, the pros need if you're a pro car, you need to have a place to tow.
You should be- you
if
should
you're
be put
towing
up
your
front of the
car,
Well,
you should
that's-
have a place that you can tow your car up to. Stop it and go, not weasel through all this traffic and people, because that's 15 20 minutes right there, because you got to drive 2
Yeah.
miles
That's
an
the
hour.
shitty part is it became politics. It used to be pro pits were the front pits.
Yep.
So it was only pro cars that pitted there. Now it
way it
became,
always was.
this is my biggest team. It's going here. This is
One
my
reason why I
biggest
built a
team.
pro car. I wanted to be up front with the big dog.
But that's how it breaks down. It became a politic
There
thing where
was-
the crew was here, the crew was here, the crew was here, and now there's no pro pit.
There was a guy that pulled up on with an Integra on a trailer, didn't run slicks or skinnies, was on street tires. I watched him run 3 passes, 16-second passes, but he was in the pro pit part.
That
And I'm not-
never happened back
I
in
mean,
the day.
he's a
No.
racer. I get it. but
OG days,
you
man.
Really
Well, see,
need-
and
I
that's
love
thing-
the OG
you know what I
days.
mean?
I'd miss them.
That's the thing with Chad. Like Chad throws his little fits, But
They're
he
right.
gets mad when
He's
there's
right.
Yes, he is. That's why I said
he's right about most of it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, nobody's right about everything, but he's right about.
That's
most.
why I said
side with
he
Chad
throws
on a
his
lot of
little
stuff
fits,
like that.
but he's right. He gets mad because there's no pro pit parking, and he's a fucking pro race car.
There's no reason why he should have that car running some of the fastest times at the track, and he's out there in the fucking dirt.
Yep.
That's
the
bullshit.
dirt.
Yep.
And I understand the track can't make concrete for everybody.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
that's fine. But your bracket racers should be out there.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, no.
I don't want them to be out there, but you know, your guys' cars aren't as finely detailed as these in the sense of a little speck of dirt could really mess up a lot of stuff
I'm
on
in
some of these
1260.
cars. You know,
I'm a
you guys are
1260
more of a street car. You've got rubber caps over your bushings and stuff like that, and your suspension. This is all Heim joints. You start getting those dirty, they start tearing things up. You know,
All Heims is spherical, you're done.
You know, like that's like I like to pit right in front of the
first
the
turnout.
scoreboard, and right by the turnout. I like to pit right there.
Yeah.
Because we're not far. It's kind of a little bit of a walk, but I like to be able to come off the road right there, and you get to see the big end. You know, the best part track. Everyone watches burnouts and stuff, but watching the big end is where we like my family and everybody likes to pit right there. I don't mind sitting back there, but now that my new car setup is going to be a little bit different, I'm looking to pit up there because
you want
I'm
to
probably
pit
going to be
closer.
towing my shit. Tell you the truth.
I mean, and it's the thing. If you're going to do the car show, that's fine. Take half of that and stretch it on out into the dirt so that, you know, some of those cars are in the dirt, some of them are on the concrete. Something. But you got to give the racers that are pros some concrete. You got to do it. It's just where it's at, you know. I mean, or you know, if the track can pave some more. It's not cheap, though. You can't rely on the track to do all that. You can't expect them to.
Well, I noticed one thing this time. They opened up the corral. It's a little dusty, but they're starting to put cars in there. That's how it should be. Make use of that thing.
I remember back when the circle track wasn't there.
Well, that's
how far back I go into Sacramento.
Yeah.
But that's
when they put that in there, it blew me away. I was like, why did you take all the pit area? Why didn't you put that further back? You know,
Same
in
thing
the
with
track.
the motorcycle track.
So,
Same thing with all of it.
Yeah, like why didn't you put it on the motorcycle track side?
Yeah.
You know, cars aren't no big deal to drive through concrete. You know, those dirt track cars can drive all the way around to the pit. They're drivable.
Yep.
You know, so they could have set that up a little differently. But, you know, not everybody's perfect, man. That's just, you do what you can with what you got when you can.
You know,
We just got to make the
you were
best
talking
of it.
about the young racers and new racers and getting them in. What's some advice that you got for them, whether it be fabricating, racing, or whatever it is? What's something that you can give to some of our viewers and say, look, this is what
Start trying to build stuff yourself. Just try. Get out there. Pick up a torch. Pick up a welder, you know. Teach yourself. There's so much stuff online.
Don't be afraid to learn.
43 years old, man, and I've learned so much off of just being online. You know, other guys that get out there and film their stuff and say, hey, these are the problems I've ran into, and this is how you can fix it. You know, there's a lot of guys out there like Weldmonger. He's you know, he teaches all kinds of stuff on Instagram and
Welding
YouTube.
tips and tricks.
Yeah,
That
welding
dude
tips and
is
tricks.
Yeah,
Dude, that guy's
intelligent
taught me
as
so
crap.
much about stuff I had no clue about.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that I've never welded before in my life. I see it on there and I'm like, wow. And then it pops into my life somehow. And I'm like, I know how to do this, you know, or at least I got an idea.
Yeah.
You know,
that
so
you can go back and watch that video
plus,
or
you know, they're teaching you about all the new stuff that's coming out, you know, the Ferret cups and everything else. It's all great equipment, man,
That's
you know.
main welding's so nice.
And it's like, you know, just getting out there and trying to do stuff yourself. Don't be the cookie cutter, you know. Try to build it yourself, you know. And if you don't have it, then hey, work your butt off and buy the stuff to do it. You know, that's what I did, and it that made me become that blue collar person. You know, that I went out and work with my hands. You know, and putting in my own time and effort into the car and taking the time to learn the aspects of everything I'm doing, whether it be the engine or the suspension or whatever. A lot of these kids are smart, but they're book smart. They can go out there and rattle off all these specs, but they can't turn the wrench. So, you know, they got to go to their tuner, and then they expect their tuner to tune the car and set everything up on the dyno, and their car to go out and run an 8-second pass. And it's like, it don't work that way, man. You got to get out there and learn it.
I see that on Facebook all the time. Well, he's got the same setup that I got. Why is he making 400? I'm making 100.
Because he knows how to tune his suspension.
Right? It's like, what do you mean? Just because you have the same thing I do doesn't mean it's going to be exactly the same.
It's the basic thing of built, not bought. And hey, I've bought parts. I ain't gonna lie, I've bought parts, but I've made more than I've bought. There's a point where you got to stand back and go, is this cost effective for me to build that or to buy it? Mm-hmm. Okay? Can I build that Speed Factory distributor cap? Sure, I can go to my work and do it. It's going to take me a lot longer to figure that out, to cut that and make it, than to spend a little bit of money to do it. Yeah. And then they've already got it done. It's good. I can have it in 2 days. This, I got to go try to make it. Yep. So, there's a give and take to it. Yep.
Well, that's like about 2 years ago when I started like really coming into the track and like putting all my effort into it. I was looking at like spoilers, for instance. We're talking about that. They're all $500, $600, and I can't really afford that. So I said, shit. My motto is, if I can make it cheaper than I can buy it, then I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I went to my uncle's body shop, and you guys will see my drag wing. It's actually a door from a postal truck that they removed. That I laid on the ground, and I did some cardboard cutouts. I shit you not. It's some cardboard cutouts, bro.
Hey, we got to start somewhere, man, exactly. Because I ain't gonna lie, I've done some stuff on this that is like sketchy,
But it's good aluminum.
Now, good thing is I got better and smarter as I went along and took that shit off. But
eventually I'll probably get a better one out of stainless or something. Yeah. But it's what I have, and it was a learning curve, and it was something that I learned.
You taught yourself something, right?
Yeah.
You got out there. You're proud of what you did, and no one can take that away from you.
And I got him sitting there learning with me too. And
exactly.
We went and got all the parts. Useless. I taught him how to. I taught him how to, use the threader, and I got some bar instead of just buying all thread, which I thought was gonna look ugly, just all thread. Mm-hmm. I went and got a piece of little 1/8" bar. We got a little threader and threaded it up. Taught him how to do that, and it was like teaching them how to do that. And like the way I learned was like doing hands on. Yeah. And I was like, let's make our own stuff. You
got to, man. So, I mean that's just one thing. It's gonna put more pride in their cars. They're not gonna cookie cutter it and just throw their money at it and walk away when it doesn't go right. They're gonna want to fix it and make it work. You know. And then I think too is just getting more of these pro class cars out. I think bringing back those classes, but you got to get the people to do it. See, that's the problem. You got to get people that want to get them out there.
How many people can still build tube chassis?
Oh, there's plenty of people out there that can do it.
There's not.
It's whether they want to.
Yeah, there's not very many people that will.
And then also, do they have the drive and the motivation for it too?
Well, it's passion, man.
Well, it's like Danny. I asked him after he did his RSX. I was like, "Would you ever do another one?" He was like, "No."
I've done about 4 cars after this one, full cars, and right now I'm telling myself I don't ever want to do another one, but I got another one out in the trailer, so I got to finish, and it's a V8 twin turbo car, rear wheel drive car, so it's I never want to do another one, but I will. I'll keep going with it when I can. They're friends' cars and stuff like that, so I want to see them racing. But, it's just about getting the passion, and no one has that passion. They just, it broke, oh well, get rid of it. It's like, don't get rid of it, fix it.
No, it's a throwaway.
Fix it, don't.
It's a throwaway world. Everyone just, if it breaks, throw it away, get another one.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes it's cheaper. Okay, well, that car doesn't mean shit to you now.
Nope.
Yep. I've had that car since day one. I bought that car from some Hmong guys in Sacramento, and it was 15 different colors and a piece of shit, It was single cam, non-VTEC with a ZC training. Yeah. And had a Prelude axle in it and everything else. The thing down the road, it was just jacked up. I went down there and I paid like $2,000 for that car, and I was the happiest dude ever because I finally bought my first Honda. It had a body kit on it and everything else, and I just basically started doing everything I could to make it better.
You said you grew up in hot rods, with this thing, which blew my mind. What made you go into Hondas instead of sticking
Stupid friends. Stupidest decision of my life. I sit back and look at what I've done with that, and I'm like, man, that's a cool car. But you realize what kind of rear-wheel drive car I could have?
Already,
going way faster for a lot longer. Yeah.
I'll put it this way. My first Honda screwed me. I bought it from Tom. I bought his old Del Sol. The red Del Sol with 11s. I bought that car. That ruined my life.
Yeah. No, my friends ruined mine. We were out, me and my dad had our drag car, the 30 Model A, and we were at a point where it was broken, and my friends were all into these Hondas. They're just starting to get into them. And they're like, man, you got to go out street racing. You got to go out street racing. I was like, man, I gave up street racing. When we got that 30, we got away from it because we knew that car was going to be fast enough that if it gets away from us, it's not going to be good. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Safety back then wasn't nearly as good as it is now. Plus, we built that car, so who knows what's going to happen. That car was not put together as well as it could be, The stuff I've learned from then and now, that car, if I still had it to this day, I'd take the body off and rebuild everything. There's no way. That car is scary to me. But that happened, and all my friends showed up and was like, dude, you got to go. I said, fine, I'll go out with you guys. Well, at that point, there was like 10 or 15 of us, This is back when you had 30 car, clubs and stuff, and they, everybody rolled together, and you'd come up here in Yuba City, and the parking lots were packed. Pep Boys and Kmart and all, they're packed full of people.
See, I never came up this way. Farthest I ever went was SAC. I went to Sunrise and Cruise Sunrise. And
Street
racing.
And, we get out here, and it was just before Fast and the Furious, before it came out. And the scene was getting crazy, and they were like, dude, come out with us, let's go racing. I said, all right, let's go. So we went out. I'm watching these guys, and everybody's side by side. It's side by side racing. I'd never had that before. It was either we blew the car away or we broke, It was never side by side racing. So I went with them. I took a ride with them, me and my buddy, and it's like a 15, 16 second car, and side by side, just you're looking over, and the guy's looking at you, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this is fun, and I wasn't really a stick shift guy at that point, I didn't really know how to drive a stick that well, not racing it. I could drive it on the street, but I wasn't banging gears.
Yeah.
So my buddies were like, drive my car. I'm like, you sure you want me to do that? He's like, yeah, dude, I want you to drive my car. So I went out and I ran, and I got a crash course in stick shift in a Honda. And then I learned how to power shift and yada, yada, yada. And, don't lift. Just slap the clutch, And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I was having so much fun. And I was like, I got to get one. I got to have one. I got to go out with my friends and do this with them. And that's what started it all, We just started racing out on the street. And like I said, I had my car for a year and a half and was like, it's time to end this because I'm going to go to jail.
Yeah.
And I've always been a good kid, growing up. I was never a bad kid. I didn't get into trouble. I didn't do drugs. Never tried any drugs in my life. I've always just been a good kid. I drink, and that's about it. I've always done the legal stuff, but
Ain't nothing wrong with drinking. Right.
Just about everybody I know is drink. So, but yeah, so that's it, That's what started it all, and from there it just grew, and I always wanted to be the fast guy, and I'd have 30 Hondas sitting out in front of my shop on a Saturday night because this was the place to come. I helped everybody tune their cars that wanted it, and the guys that didn't, they tuned their own, and we worked out of this shop and, change tires, lift car, change them, whatever, putting lowering springs on them. We did all that here and didn't charge nobody nothing. It was just come here and have fun and hang out, and we'd sit around the fire and bullshit at night until it was time to go out racing. So it's just what it was, and just kind of grew from there.
So you've been doing this for a long time. Is there anything that you would say or think or change about the track events that could make them better, in your opinion?
Just more organization, mainly. I think that, and then making sure everybody can hear. Because that was the worst thing about race.
You can't hear shit over
Well,
there.
the car shows get going. They got their music playing on the stage and everything. And that's fine. It's cool, It's nice to have music in the background and stuff. But if they're making track announcements, they should be announcing it over that too. They should be cutting in whatever to the music. Or at least turning it down, saying, hey, we got, round, qualifying one, whatever coming up.
Yeah.
Bust in and do that. Don't just try to make the track overplay you guys, because they always just turn it up more.
Yep.
So, I think that's one of the biggest things, is just getting it to where everybody can hear. They say tune in, but, you tune in and you don't hear anything because they're not talking. So you think, oh yeah, it's nothing. And then all of a sudden, you might hear something if you're paying attention. But
not just that, who's got FM, AM radios anymore?
Yeah, it's true too. A lot of them don't.
You have to leave your car running or your truck running.
Yeah, it's got to be on to hear it. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's one thing. Just organization in the sense of being able to hear what's going on and everything. And when you put everybody out in the North 40, you got to be ready for that. You got to have somebody out in the North 40 saying, "Hey, we're calling hot rod. We're calling whatever class.
Yeah.
All-wheel drive,
I think
whatever."
that was with round 2 of eliminations at CMI. We were waiting for guys, and they're calling. His buddies are all calling them. They're calling guys and everything. It's like, did they leave? Did they broke? Can they hear over the intercom?
Yeah.
That
you
was
don't know.
right around the time that the car show was blowing with the lowrider.
The limbo and everything else.
So
and I think they should stop. Like if they're going to do that, they're going to do the limbo. Then stop racing. Take a break. Do the limbo stuff at lunchtime. Do after the car. After racing, after eliminations. Do the limbo. Do the car show announcements. Whatever. Plan that out to where you don't got things going on at the same time because it's crazy.
I think
the worst part about it is the two-step contest. You can't hear nothing over that.
You ain't going to, and that's what I'm saying. Like you got to plan that stuff out at the right time.
Because a lot of times you'll pull people from the stands and you'll take them there. And a lot of times they're standing around there. They don't want to go back to the stands.
Just remember, it's called race wars.
Yeah, go back to the racetrack.
It's racing. It's about racing.
I'd rather go.
Hell, it was still about racing and freaking Fast and the Furious. What were they doing? You had people watching the racing. You didn't see
bikini contest.
You didn't see. Well, hey, but that was after the race.
It was.
That was in the evening. Racing's done. Everybody's drinking, eating.
So speaking of that, do you think that we could benefit from 2-day events instead of the 1-day?
Oh God, yes. I think 2-day.
Because I know we used to have it.
Oh yeah, I'd love to have a 2-day event. Love to have that.
I hear it a lot, so that's why I bring it up.
2-day events is where it's at because you can come in, you can qualify, you can get all the bullshit out of the way of qualifying. Because if you can't qualify, then bye bye.
Yeah, or go enjoy the car show, or go
you can
barbecue, whatever,
have fun. But and then have your eliminations and start it early. Yeah. Don't say you're going to start racing at 10 and then start at noon.
Yeah. I think we should start racing a little bit earlier.
I think so too.
I think we should start racing,
especially if it's qualifying. Let us get those early morning runs in where it's nice and cool. The track's still cool. The weather's great, and then stop everything around 3-4 o'clock. Do all those, the tug of wars or your limbos or your, whatever. Do all that stuff. Then give the track time to get through the hot process where it sucks.
Yeah.
And then 6-7 o'clock, we kick everything back off for eliminations and finish the night.
The sad part about it is a lot of it's the entry. Because you have car shows, racers, and vendors and people all coming through the same gate at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying gates open up at 7, racing starts at 9, but you still have people in the back of the line at noon. Mm-hmm. So they can't start racing till noon.
Yep, and that's the sad thing about SAC is they do have the 2 gates. And
they more than 2.
They could say, well, I'm just saying the 2 main gates. They could say, hey, pros only come through the main gate where everybody normally leaves out of. Or pros come in there and then bracket and
car shows in one, racers in one, spectators in one.
Exactly. And then they can fill up that whole parking lot with the car show people and let them come in. Yep. And then the racers can come in and get where they need to go because we're the ones that take up the most room in the line. We've got trailers. Yep. So get those guys through.
Yep. I think that,
or make a trailer line and a straight car line.
The main gate, I think that should be for the car shows and for the spectators. I think the racers should get the one that goes on the other side of the fence when you go around, because it puts you right into the pits, puts you right into the staging lanes right there. I think.
Well, so does the main gate. The main gate goes right in because that's as you're coming out.
But I think
the main gate. The reason why I think they should do that is because they could leave that open, and they ain't gonna have people backed up. You ain't gonna get a big line right there. Yeah. If you're moving those people, because they can just stand there and get the racers.
And most of them are pre-sales.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of those racers are pre-sales. So all you're doing is
do a pre-sale. Do a pre-sale line right there. Hey, if you're pre-sale, all you got to do is come up, boom, go. Yep. And then all the other people you're over there. Yep. And then if it starts to get too crazy, then set it up over on the other side where you've got pre-sale line or truck and trailer line, and then just car show or just cars, the bracket racers. You know, set it up something like that to where the line's going to flow better.
Yeah.
And if somebody starts cutting and doing their BS in line, then, you know, hey, buddy.
Which if it flows that good, I don't think you'll run into that stuff.
But I mean, and that's the thing too, is where they opened up the third gate for race wars and everything and started pushing everybody about that. They should do that right off the bat.
Yeah.
Make that line go all the way out and around into God's country, because who cares? It's a line.
Yep.
You know, we're all expecting it.
Yep.
You know, I get there. They say they're going to open the gates at whatever time, and then you get there. I get there at least an hour to 2 hours early and sit waiting because I want to get a good spot. You know, with the track, and we get there and they don't open the track for another hour or whatever,
Yeah,
or 45 minutes after
gates,
they say.
Gates open at 7 and they don't open until 7:30
Or 8.
And then they're still signing things.
Yeah,
trying to figure stuff
and I understand
out.
they've got to get all that stuff signed. They got to get it stuff. If that's the case, you know, you say you're going to open gates at 8, you know that gate's going to be packed when you get there because everybody's showing up. Let's get somebody out there an hour early and start signing all the waivers. Yeah. Get all your waivers signed. They've done that before.
Well, they did that this
They
last
did
year.
that, yeah.
You know, they get out there and get all those waivers signed and get people scanned in, and then start letting people in early if you can. You know, let the people that are going to show up early get in early.
Yep.
You know, that's just going to help.
A lot of times there's a line of people and the gates closed and we're all standing around talking, and then like, oh, it's moving, so now we all in our
But
cars.
it's like anything else. You got to pay those people, so it's going to cost more money. You know, so it's give and take.
The
But it's
money
just
they make,
ideas.
though, I'm sorry, but they have the money to spend.
Well, I just think that, you know, you're going to tell somebody you're going to be there at 8, you should be opening up at 7:45.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way I was taught.
You know, they always say
Be there
racing starts
15
at
minutes
10.
early and get it done, get it going.
It's that saying, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yes, sir.
Let's see what. So what's your overall goals with the car? You got a time, a horsepower?
I like to break cert, 850s. I think that's reasonable for the car. I think it'll do it once we get things ironed out. You know, if it with what it weighs, if it makes 650, it should run down there no problem. But you gotta make it do it
1,600
first.
650, yeah.
I can say whatever I want, but until that car clicks that number,
It's running threes, damn it.
yeah, you know. I mean, I know
mean,
plenty of people that I'm gonna make 1,000 horsepower, and they don't,
Yeah.
and they go out and run their car, and it runs 12 seconds, and I don't understand.
It's just
Not
a realistic goal, though. Is
Yeah.
cert. It's not unrealistic.
No, I mean the car's certed for 850. I could cert it for lower, but I don't want to. You know, it costs more money.
Yeah.
The car was never gonna, you know, before I knew I was only planning on making about 450, and I knew 850 was gonna be pushing it at that. They'd probably never do it, and maybe run a low 9 at that kind of number. But it, you know, with the 650 and being the weight that it is, and if I get my fat butt in the gym, you know, it'll go. But if I could break cert with it, I'll be happy. That'd be a point where I'm done.
What's your best time in it so far?
We ran a 1050. That's with about 300 horse. This last time we went out, we ran 11 something, but you know the transmission was just not wanting to shift. But we went 140, missing second and third gear.
Shit's insane.
So yeah, it third gear. She freight trained.
Right? How do you feel? You're doing 90, 91.
No, I'm doing 100. Don't blame me like that.
You want to pull up your time slip? I guarantee you money that there's time slips that say 90s.
Yeah, when I'm missing fucking gears, dickhead.
Yeah, all this year.
Actually, technically, the car we only raced one time this year. So
Okay, so sorry, last year then.
And technically, I still went over 100 all rounds on CMI. So
Yeah, the funny part was when I first put this car together, it was going to be a nitrous car, and a nitrous all motor, basically car, single cam, and we put it together and ran a 12 something right out of the bat with this damn near stock motor.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it ran pretty good. So
what do you pay attention to? A lot of like the Pan Ams, the East Coast stuff.
I try, you know, I watch what I can.
You're very well knowledge on pro stuff. So I was do you still keep up with it?
Yeah, I watch the stuff. You know, at Speed Factory, them losing their car was just a shame.
Yeah.
But you know, I kept up with those guys just because you know, you idolize that stuff. You know, you'd love to be able to go that fast, and what they did, and I kept up with Speed Factory mainly just because the single cam. You know, James doing all the work with the single cam. I was just like, you are worthy, you know.
He still posts that car all the time.
Yeah, the car is just awesome, and they did remarkable things with it, and they've led it to where we are now with the stuff.
I can't wait to see their new build.
Yeah, their new build's gonna be nasty. I watched that. I watched NRG make that car.
Yeah, Tom
build
did
it, and
hell of a
it's
job.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I keep up with the chassis stuff. I like to watch how these guys, and I like the fact that they're doing the chassis now and the way they're doing them. You know, I keep up with that, watching how everybody does it, because sooner or later somebody's gonna come in here and be like, "Hey, I need one," and I'll do it. But, you know, everybody builds things differently. You know, Whitfield, he's got some pretty crazy ideas with what he's doing with chassis. I've never seen somebody build these chassis the way they are with his. And I don't know if everybody notices, but, you know, you normally have a halo bar up top with your down bars up front and your funny car cage. Well, he's got that set up where his halo bar is his main hoop, pretty much. He's got a little tiny halo bar out front on a couple of cars he's posted lately. You don't see that. You don't see that in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff I pay attention to, because it's a design, and I want to know if it's going to work. You know, technically that should work great. It's an awesome, that should work great. Mm-hmm. Will it? We don't know yet. We got to see what the car does once it comes out. Yeah. But that's the stuff I love, looking at the fabrication and builds and stuff like that, because it inspires me to build different things and come up with my own ideas.
So you're not really worried about what they're playing with the fuel and all that stuff over there?
No, I definitely watch all that stuff. I keep an eye on all that stuff. So when they started doing M5, I was like, you tricky bastards. I was waiting for the nitro thing to come out, because I knew I've been in the nitro game for years, man.
What's your
throw a little 5% in anything? It makes things run nice.
That's still considered all motor to you?
The nitro stuff? Yes and no. I mean, it's a power adder. I think it's cool that they've went there, because I've been standing back going, pros run nitro, why can't we? But everybody stopped at M1. So I was like, why can't we run nitro? Why can't there be a class for nitro? Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. But you can't be running nitro and then running against an M1 car. It's just not fair. That is not fair. No. It is not the same thing. It's not an all-motor class.
So is it fair that technically, like, who's got the all-motor record right now? Is it still
Javier? Javieri's had it.
Yeah. So, it's 860, right? 863?
840?
Is it?
Oh, 846 or 864?
I thought he went 870.
It was either 846 or 864.
But
it was one of those two numbers.
Is it fair to call that the all-motor record, or is that the nitro record? You know what I mean? I
think it should be called the nitro record, just like we have a top alcohol class, and we have a nitro class, right? Mm-hmm. In NHRA, there should be a top alcohol class, top alcohol all-motor, and a top nitro class. They're two different cars, man.
That's why they call it outlaw. It's an outlaw car.
Well, now that they have it, but still, technically, everyone still says, what's the all-motor record? Because if you go, let's say you go like 991 on M1,
it's more
like,
about,
that ain't shit, because he just did 860s.
When you get into the all-motor stuff, it's all about the realists. Those guys, the all-motor guys are very finicky and touchy about their all-motor stuff.
Yeah, no.
So... You gotta like it's a fine line. It really is.
That's what I'm saying. What do you think?
Honestly, like nitro, it is a power adder to a point, but it is its own class. I think nitro is a whole nother game, man. Mm-hmm. It's nothing about it is the same. You tune a car one way, you go put nitro in it, it's a whole nother ball game. Yeah. You're changing everything on it. I mean, you're running crazy amounts of timing and stuff like that. So, for me, it's a whole nother ball game when you come to nitro, because it does add power. Don't care what you do. Mm-hmm. You throw nitro in anything, it's going to go faster. So it's just like nitrous. Nitrous is a different class.
Yeah.
So, it may not be a fuel, but it's a class. So I think the nitro stuff should be in its own class, but it should be a class. I think it should be around. I like that it's around. I think it's interesting. Because all it's going to do is expand everything. We're starting with billet blocks and everything else. Before you know it, we're going to have a top fuel 4-cylinder class.
I was going to say,
and I think it's great.
I was going to say, what's your opinion on that? Because they're limiting.
I think it's great.
You can't use any billet. You can only use a certain size turbo.
No, see, that's where I'm completely different. You're going to limit us to oh, you got to have stock blocks. Well, we're running out of stock blocks, man. These cars are 25, 30 years old now.
Yeah.
You got plentiful things out there that are billet. Sure, it's expensive, but step up or get out.
And that's the sad part.
That's it. That's where it's at.
It's not even the expensive part. They just say, well, you could totally modify this to be a whole different motor and claim it's a K-Series, but now it's billet, so it's different.
I get it, but at the same time, step up or step out.
Yeah.
No,
I
fall to the street class.
I agree 100%.
It's fall.
You're a pro for a reason.
If we don't innovate, your kids aren't going to be interested.
No.
It's like, yeah, it's that old class out there. We've got all this new stuff that is fun. This is cool. We can do the new stuff. That old stuff, you can't get a hold of it no more.
Yeah.
Well,
let's keep the old stuff alive by innovating and getting that new technology in there. We got billet heads, billet blocks. Let's keep it going. You want to keep this stuff alive, we've got to innovate it at the same time. Sure, it's expensive, but the prices will come down once people start doing more of it. It's more readily available.
Well, that's what I tell him. We've talked about this quite a few, is you look at the levels of racers. You have street track, you have pros, and then you have like almost, an outlaw car or a funny car or whatever. There's a place for this stuff. Just because you want to be in a sport front wheel drive car doesn't mean somebody else doesn't want to have a billet car. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's a place for all of it, and I think certain cars will attract different groups. Where
the problem with that is you start breaking it down into too many classes.
Oh yeah,
it gets watered down, and then you've got 3 cars in this class, 3 cars in that class, and then it saturates everything, and it doesn't. You don't get people in the classes no more.
And that's what happened with the outlaw class when they went nitro. There was like 4 people in that one class, and then everybody else went to nitro.
But surprisingly, it did.
Oh, it leveled back out.
It leveled back out. Some of the guys like, fuck
nitro shit. But that's the thing. You're gonna have that transition period. Mm-hmm. If everybody wants to step up to nitro, then hey, now it's the nitro class.
Yeah.
You want an all motor class? Well, then you guys are gonna fall down. Unfortunately, some people are gonna fall out and be pissed off, but you got to go where the support is. If they're supporting a nitro class, then you got to go to that. If you're going to keep things alive, the sport's dying. It's going away, and it sucks because we don't have the tracks in California we used to. We got 3-4 tracks now. That's it. This big ass state, we've got maybe 3 or 4 tracks that you can regularly run on with an import. Redding's just now starting to get to where they have, import meets more often.
Yeah.
Like a dedicated import meet. Infineon, they don't want us there.
Yeah.
They don't like us there. We got to have a big event for them.
I think
they might.
I think it's going to change now that Bodie's trying to get involved in the import thing.
Exactly. If I think getting people like Bodie that can bring it, because they're going to bring other things with it.
Yep.
It's smart idea for Bodie to bring us in.
Yep.
It's the best thing he can do.
Yep.
It's how he handles it from there.
Yep.
Well, that's what we were talking about. This upcoming Reading, next weekend is going to be kind of like it's critical.
I really wanted to go to that, but this is just not going to make it. I'm not going to get the parts back in time.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So I wanted to make one more race this year, but I wanted to take the car to Bodie's and let them see that because, dude, anybody that sees this car, they freak out. They really freak out on it. And I like that about it. That's why I built it, because I wanted to get the reaction from people. But
that's why
it's an amazing car.
When it runs the times that it's supposed to, that's when everyone's going to wake the hell up.
Yep, that's when it's going to get the thing. But I got to make it do it first.
Because you see it now, and
otherwise
you're like,
it's just a pile of bolts and bars.
It's a badass chassis that runs 10s. You're like, man, I can run 10s in my stock car.
Yeah.
So when that actually does the times, you're like, whoa, shit, okay.
Yeah, that's why I kept it single.
I
could throw a K in it. I can throw a K in it and go fast, but I can throw a stock K in it and go fast.
Is it really powered by Briggs & Stratton?
No.
It's all sitting back there.
I did that for my for the old guys that used to be in the shop. My dad and his buddies, they always said these cars sound like pissed off Briggs & Stratton motors. So one day I came in, and that was one of the first stickers I put in the car. That sticker's been on it since it was a street car, and I put that on there. My dad laughed his butt off. So back when we had the fart can exhausts and everything else on them,
Yeah.
But yeah, the only part on that car that is still really just like an unchanged stock part is the rear hatch. That's it. Everything else, it's still got the original glass. So everything else has been changed. I cut the car in half, stretched it 5.5 inches, cut 6 inches off the bottom. There's no rocker panel basically on the car.
Yeah.
I cut it off right at the bottom of the door and just lowered the car down on the chassis. So, because I wanted a really low, squatty, wide car.
Yeah.
And, you know, do it like they do the Pro Mods and the,
See, that's what's funny. I always
Pro
wondered.
Stock cars. I grew up loving Pro Stock.
Yeah.
All motor was my thing. I love Pro Stock. I thought it was probably the best NHRA class out there because it's side-by-side racing. And I love that. And you're talking thousandths of a second between the wins, you know, or the start, you know, is either the guy who's starting it or whatever. And you had to shift perfect. And I'm so into that, you know. So that's what got me into the Honda stuff is I love Pro Stock, and then I loved the competition. And when I got to drive the Hondas and we were side by side, even though we were way slower, it was just fun, you know. It was so much fun to sit there and bang gears with my buddy and go back and be like, I got your ass, man. Yeah. You know, I outshifted you. It's not that I just blew your doors off. It was I outdrove you. And that's what made me have so much fun with the Honda stuff. But, yeah, I'd love to be able to get in and get sponsored and get some money behind the car. But, you know, you got to put forth the effort for the sponsors and everything else. And
well, not even that.
I'm getting there. I'm getting to the point where I can start putting forth more time and effort into making meets and everything. But I had to get the car going again, you know, and get it to where it'd be competitive. So
that's the hard part, though. Like, there's not many people that sponsor imports anymore.
No.
And the ones that do, they have their own cars. Like Skunk 2 has their own car, 4-Piston has their own car.
FCS.
You know, yeah, they all have their own cars. So there's no point in sponsoring somebody else and they have their own car.
You build your parts to sell to support your race habit. Yep. You think those guys are rich?
A few of them are.
Nah, not really. They spend all their money on their cars or other cars.
I know a few that have quite a bit of money.
Yeah. Well, you like Skunk 2. That guy went nuts. That guy just...
Who, Dave?
Yeah, they just went crazy. But, you know, he's a manufacturer.
Yeah.
He's got multiple businesses, and that's the way to do it if you're going to be an entrepreneur. But
yeah,
I don't want to go that route. I don't want to work that hard at the fabrication thing because you got to get people to work for you, and they've got to be good. They got to be as good as you, if not better. And I'm not that great. And it's hard to find somebody that's that good, you know, that can do the stuff that I do, that is reliable enough. You know,
that's what's always
quality. They'll put the same amount of quality and time into it, and it's just training somebody's not even a bad thing. It's just they don't want to learn. People don't want to get out there and do it. They just want to buy it.
That's what always blew my mind about Sheepy Race, how successful they became, and that's because of that right there.
Yep.
They had Charlie that was welding. And they had Alex that was behind the business.
Yep.
And it was
That's what you
blew
need.
up because of that right there. You had two
and
motivated
you
people
gotta
in
have,
2 sections.
And that's one thing for me. I can't do it all.
Yep.
I do everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be the businessman. I'd be the welder. I'd be the fabricator. I can't do all that, man. I ain't got the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got a family, and you know, she's got FFA stuff I got to go do, and you know, it's like I don't have. I need somebody that can go and sell the stuff.
Yep.
I need somebody that can manage the company. I need somebody that can help me build the stuff. You know, designing and stuff, I can do that. I like designing. That's where I kind of started out. You know, is architectural drafting and stuff like that. I could draw when I was a kid, so I got into drawing and designing parts, and that's what made me do this car too. Is I wanted to design my own parts and possibly start a fabrication business. You know, but as I've grown, it's like I've just found out that there's just not a lot of people out there that want to do it. You know,
especially in this state.
Yeah. And then if you do get in with a company, they don't want to pay you.
No.
You know, they can't. They just can't. They can't afford to because you don't make money doing this. You know, you put way more hours in at doing something than you're going to get paid for. Because how do you go out and spend, you know, charge somebody $1,200-$1,300 for an intake setup, you know, intake piping and everything else, and you know, people don't want to spend that kind of money on intake piping.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Well, and that's why Sheepy got out of, I mean, not out of it, he's still doing it, but his main money now
Lambos.
is
Lambos and
Yeah.
Ferraris.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those people walk up and drop $30,000 like it ain't nothing.
Yep.
Because they have it.
on something that cost him $1,000 to
Think
build.
some cheap ass Honda owner is going to do that?
No, hell no.
no. Nope. So, you know, that's the whole thing. It's, you know, it's the people that are in the business, you know, and what they're buying for. If it's Honda stuff, you know, you're not going to make a lot of money on it. So you can't spend a lot of time on it. If you do, you're just giving it away. So that's part of it, is just trying to keep everything affordable and everything. So that's why when I do stuff, I try to do it as reasonable as I can.
Oh yeah, enough to make you some money, but not.
If I make enough money to keep the old tires burning on that bastard, then hey, I'm happy.
Yep.
You know, I ain't out there trying to get crazy, but I don't do it for free either. So,
what's one of the most craziest moments you've had in a race, or you've seen, or something that you like? Holy shit!
Most memorable
one.
Myself, I've had pretty good luck with the racetrack and not getting crazy and doing anything too crazy. I've had the last race we were at. We had the parachute wrap around the wheelie bar and shoot me into the other lane. So that was a heartbeat moment, and I've almost slapped a wall a couple times, but I've never had any accidents, thank God. But I've had friends that have, and matter of fact, there's a door up there off of a Corvette from one of my friends that wrecked, and yeah, it's no fun watching your friends wreck, especially when it's a bad wreck. You're talking like 7-8 flips and spirals, and it's never a good thing. So yeah, those are always crazy.
No, like side by side action where you were racing, and like you was playing earlier. Like
all the side by side stuff has been good for me. We've always made it through the quarter mile. I never had any problems and stuff, other than out street racing and the cops come in and running and stuff. I picked people up running down the road. We were out at D'Antoni Road out here racing, and then this was years and years ago, and some poor girl's running down the road, and I'm like, what the hell? And I pull up and I open my door. I was like, get in. And she jumped in the car. I didn't know her, but we're all running from the cops. Like, I'm gonna let this girl, just run it. So she jumped in, and it was like, my boyfriend left me, and I'm like, what? And so, I took her to Carl's Jr. where everybody was beaten up, and she met up with her boyfriend, and it was just, stuff like that, evading cops and playing games. I think one of the most memorable moments is, I have to tell on my dad, is in the old coupe right there. We were out street racing, and I was with our buddy, and my buddy, we just had a plain old stock car. We weren't racing, we were watching. And my dad, he wasn't racing. He had my mom in the car. And it's like 3 a.m. And this is when we all used to meet at Jack in a Box in Marysville. And we were out on Feather River Boulevard racing. And my dad, we got the call that the cops were coming. And my dad was like, hey, I'm going to go run interference. So get the cars loaded up and get out of here. So we're helping our buddy load his car on the trailer. My dad took off in the coupe. And he's clipping along. He said about 120. He goes right by a cop. Cop slams around, goes back. Well, my dad gets out of sight, turns off, and goes into the orchard. Shuts the car off. Cop goes by. Dad pulls back out. My mom's freaking out. What are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, just relax. Takes off, and he gets back out on the road, and he's cruising along. Here comes that cop back the other way. Boom! Flips it around, right? My dad's doing 55 in the old coupe, Cop pulls up behind him, turns the lights on, comes walking up to my dad and goes, have you get out of the car there? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And Dad gets out and he sees he's an old man. My dad was probably late 40s, early 50s at that point. Can't say old, but older. He's not no 19-year-old kid out in a hot rod.
Right.
And so the cop's looking, and my dad's like, or the cop asked my dad, he goes, what are you doing out here? He goes, well, me and the wife want to go for a drive. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, we're out in the bushes. So the cop's like, what? He goes, we're out in the bushes. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, you see the dirt on the car? My dad pulled off in the orchard, get the car dirty. My dad was thinking. He knew what to do. He had that cop tied up for a good 15 minutes.
While everyone's loading.
The cop looks over and shines a light on my mom. My mom's just sitting there smiling. She's like, hi, officer! She had no clue what my dad had done. So the officer looks at her, kind of laughs, my dad said, and he goes, well, you guys have a good night. He goes, I'm out here chasing these street racers. They're out here running around somewhere. He goes, I thought it was you. He goes, I had a little car come flying by me. He goes, I didn't even know what it was. He went by me so fast. My dad's like, oh, yeah, this old bucket of bolts won't run that hard. So he's, all right, sir, you have a good night and stay out of them bushes. So my dad gets in the car and comes back, and we've got the scanners and everything, walkie-talkies, and we're like, yeah, my dad got pulled over, and I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, oh man, my mom and my dad's going to jail. Because I was like 13 years old, I was a kid. And they all get back to Jack in the Box, and we're sitting there. It's like 4 a.m. at this point. Sun's starting to come up. And my dad pulls up, and we're like, what happened? He goes, oh, man, I got a story for you guys. And he tells that story, and my mom goes, you said what? Started slapping him. That was funny.
That's funny.
So that's probably one of my best memorable moments of street racing and drag racing.
That's
my
a good
dad
one.
That's a good
being out in the bushes.
When you get this done, is there anybody that you want to race?
Nah, I'm just out to have fun, I think me and old Randy with Blues Clues used to race a lot, and we've always had fun racing each other. He's with me every time because his car's always been fast, and I've always had problems. But I don't know, maybe me and him could get together and have some fun. I know he's been racing it. He kind of pulled off of it here lately, but I'd like to see him get it back out there and get going. Me and Randy's always been pretty good friends in the racing world, and I'd like to see him get it back out there, and us could tie it off. Have some fun with it.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get his 8, I'd like to see us both get our 8s.
Right.
That'd be cool. Hell, right now I'm just trying to get my 9. But,
Side by side 8's coming up.
Yeah, I think that'd be really awesome for me and him both,
That'd be a pretty cool sight.
We're both old school guys, and we've both been wanting that for a long, long time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Cool. I'm questioned out. I think I asked a lot.
Is there anything else you want to...
You want to give some shout outs?
Right.
Talking about sponsors and,
Just definitely Ken's Race Engines. They've done me well. Ron's Fuel Injection, Killer Ron's Fuel Injection. Scott over there, he's helped me out a lot. Liberty Gears, Terry there is helping me out right now. And just, that's about it, really. That's the guys that have done the work for me. Fuel Tech, and, they've helped me out. And color fittings for sure. They're the ones that made the engine look pretty. So Downstar, he helped me out with some bolts and stuff that I needed on the fly. So yeah, just getting the car together and everything like that. I'd like to get a set of the VMS wheels. That's for sure. The new bead locks they've come out with. I want to try those out.
Actually,
Are they doing?
Came out. They started doing bead locks.
Are they double bead locked or just the?
I don't know if they're double, but I know they're at least single.
Yeah.
No, I follow them. They have really nice rims.
Yeah,
those new bead locks.
That's what I've got on the car right now, but they're not the bead lock. And I seen that they're sending the wheels to another company, and they have them put the bead lock on. So yeah, I'd like to definitely get a hold of a set of those. I need to call them up and see what I can do with them, but it is what it is.
Yep. Well, I'm all done.
I got one question. Is there anybody that you would like to see us interview at some point in the future? Is there anyone you would be interested to hear from?
I think just hearing Bodie's view on the Sport Impact stuff and how he plans on, bringing us into
I
it.
didn't even think about that.
I think that would be a good one. And then Tony, obviously from the track, and
I'm excited
maybe
for that
seeing give us a future, man.
Yeah,
give us a future. That you give us a future. I'm more than happy to come out and support. And
there's a lot
anything
of
they need. If they need some volunteers or whatever, I'm down. They need fabrication work out there. Hey, call me up. I'm more than happy to come help out with the racetrack.
That's a good point. I wanted to also. It's just something that we have oil downs at the track. Can't always help it. It's gonna happen. It's always been happening.
It's gonna happen.
They got one guy sweeping quarter mile of fucking dirt. I would like to see some of us out there, get an extra broom and help sweep along. I know I don't want to put too many people out there on the track.
Well,
but,
yeah.
And more than 2 guys out there sweeping. I know a lot of us are busy in that, but man, if we can afford to have some of these guys got 10 guys standing around their pits and only 2 of them working on cars. How about you have one of your boys? Hey, why don't you go
help? If it ain't
them?
an insurance thing, then I'm
down.
down.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm down.
To help sweep. Hey, help us get on the track.
And
faster,
my thing too is like, you need help with designing equipment to make things spray better or drag the track better
That's the
whatever.
big one.
Anything we
about
can
that all
help.
the
You know,
time.
you're put that out there, and the drag community will step up. I mean,
yeah.
they did for Reading.
Oh, yeah.
When Reading was getting redone, you know, they redid a bunch of stuff. A lot of people just contributed. You know, they'll donate their time.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously, yeah. You know, I mean, we may be just a sport compact world, but you know, we're willing to help too.
But, I
so
mean,
anything
not
like that.
Us too, but also the muscle car world. A lot of those guys who own big shops and got
Yes.
a lot of that money
Yep.
will also help put into that because they want it to be around too, and they're going to want the same
Yeah,
thing.
they
They want the
want-
same thing we want. You know what I mean?
Reach out and
They want
make,
better equipment, better
we
track.
need the tracks to be better. You know, SAC's a decent track. It always has been. It's not the best track out there, but it's a decent track. I've never, every time I've been there, we've had good luck with SAC. And I've always seen, you know, there for a long time, we were one of the fastest tracks in the sport compact world. A lot of people didn't know that. They didn't know that Lukovsky came up there and took the all-motor record, you know, for a long time.
I know that.
Yeah, he had it for a while there, you know, and then he went down to LA and broke it again. But, you know, it was there for a long time. So, you know, it's tracks, the SAC is a good location for a track in the sense of the air quality and everything else.
Except for
But,
lately.
you know,
Except for lately.
yeah, I mean, lately it's just everything's bad in California. But it's just one of those things of just making things better, you know, adding to the track, upgrading some things, you know. With the size of things, how they're getting, obviously we need to get more concrete or asphalt out at SAC to,
I
to
know
fill in those areas. But it's one of those things of just improvements. And then, you know, if you need help, you need volunteers, whatever, put out the word, man. I guarantee you, if you're going to be out there laying asphalt and you need help, you could put that word out and a lot of people would show up to do it. You know, a lot of people would show up to do it just because they want their track to be better too.
Yeah. Well, I know talking to all the bigger guys, the faster guys, the only complaint that I've ever heard, and it's almost the same complaint from everyone, is the cooldown on that track. They say it's too short. Once they're hitting 140, 150, 180.
I don't think SAC has more room. I don't think they have more land.
I don't
That's
think they
why
do.
it's short.
I know, but I'm saying that's
why they don't
the
run
only-
NHRA and everything else there. It's
Yeah.
because they, you know, the big cars, they don't have the shutdown, and I think it's because of they're landlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, if you can make it longer, do it. But
I'm just saying that's the only complaint I've ever heard on that track.
Yep.
Other than that, no one.
you know, I've never had any problems with shutting down. But I've got all the stuff you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not that fast either. So.
Not yet.
But when you're running, you know, top
you got the
alcohol
mile per hour.
dragsters
Yeah,
and stuff, and you're
they're
running
doing-
5 and 6 seconds, it's another world. That's a whole nother world. I think that's one reason why Bodie and them only run 8th mile too there, because that quarter mile is a short quarter mile when it comes to shutdown.
Yeah.
And you're running 200 miles an hour. Because a lot of those cars will do it.
Oh yeah.
Shit, some of those guys are doing 160 in the eighth.
Yeah.
160, 170 in the eighth. So
Yeah, that's moving.
Yeah.
That's moving.
in the eighth.
It's crazy.
That's moving.
Yep.
Well,
I'm good, man.
yeah.
I tell you, I learned a lot in this episode.
Right? It was a good one.
got
I
a
like
lot-
it.
I got a
I'm
lot of
always
motivation.
down, guys. Anytime.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yep,
Really
for sure.
appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Guys, check them out.
Check, make sure.
See you on the next episode.